Oh yeah, good afternoon, Culture Crazy. The phone line ringing already. I don't know. You gonna take that call, right?
You must just want to say good evening.
Is Father allow it? Good afternoon. This is Food for the Journey, and if anything you're gonna say, I hope it's pertaining to the program with Father Dwight Merrick right now. Good afternoon.
Okay, sorry. I thought you and the was still on.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
no problem,
No
man.
problem.
Hopefully you can call back in the energy because I always look forward to your views. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Food for the Journey. And another installment. It's Wednesday. It's 6 p.m. And Father is all fresh with a new hairstyle, everything. So I know what happened to this week. It looks like it was goodness, good energy. So yeah, he looks like he's in prime form. So good afternoon, good evening, Father.
Good evening. Good evening. Great to be here again. Just when I was in Catholic News last weekend with my long hair, my long gray hair.
And they say,
So just when I cut it off Monday morning, friends call and tell me how they like the gray hair, they like the long hair. I say, I just cut it off, Okay. So, welcome everyone. The topic today is a heavy topic. I'm not sure I'm going to get through all that I've prepared, but I'll try. The topic is gangs, gunplay, and emotional intelligence. Gangs, gunplay, and emotional intelligence. So with such a heavy topic, we have to pray. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we thank and praise you for this opportunity this evening to share, to hear, to be challenged, to think deeply, and to really just address this very, very important topic for people, especially for young men. We pray, Lord, that somehow what we do this evening would influence in some meaningful way ourselves and play a part in the solutions we need for this real challenge in our country. In Jesus' name, amen. So, I want to start with a story. I want to start with a story that's a difficult one to understand. So, to tell this story, I'm really going to share with you. I wrote word for word. I wrote these down word for word today. 2 love letters I received when I lived in a high crime area of the country. The first love letter goes like this: Parish priest, you are the biggest murderer in this area. You mean to say that you have murdered all these lovely and healthy trees again? Cutting down trees can't stop crime. You are endangering our health. We are fed up of you. Now please leave us. So that was posted on the fence of the church compound. One of the ladies in church met it before I met it, and she was furious and she ripped it down and she gave it to me when I arrived at the venue. Some days later, someone out the road told me, there's a little distance from the church, said, you saw the next sign they sent for you? I said, no. Then somebody ripped down that one and brought it for me. So this is the second one. Parish priest, who do you think you are? God? No, you are evil and wicked. Why are you murdering and burning our trees? All of our wildlife have either died or displaced by your orders to chop and burn. What did these trees do so that you had to murder and burn them like that? Where's your heart? You stop burying people who are not of you and your wicked and evil plan. We are fed up of you now. Please leave us. So if that hasn't confused you totally and completely, maybe the context where these letters came from could help. Okay, so the situation was a Christmas day. We did the mass, greeted people. One of the men greeted me. He went out to the back of the church to his vehicle, and he came back speedily, whispering in my ears, they have shells around my car. I tell him, don't touch nothing, you just go your way. I would have told somebody, call police and tell them we have shells on the compound if they want to come. So they did come, and I can't remember, they told me on the phone or something how many they picked up, 20 something or something like that. But Christmas time was a busy time, so I really didn't pay it much mind until after New Year's, I think, a week plus. Then it came back to me, oh, this happened. So I started walking around the compound where those shells were, trying to figure out who you could hit from here. And look at how much shells, who you could hit from here. Then I realized something. Now that location is like the middle of three gangs, one south, one northeast, and one northwest. So what was happening is guys from the south of the compound coming up there to the church compound. There's a clump of trees. So with the screen of the trees, they're trying to hit fellas from one of the gangs on the northeast, where there's a little space, about 50 meters, not even 50, between houses, a space, and the guys from that gang would normally be on that road. So they're staying here and under the screen of the trees trying to hit fellas across there. As the crow flies, it would be about 60 meters away, if so much, you know. So that's what was going on. I say, oh gosh. So I cut down the trees. And that is what prompted my love letters, that I cut down the trees. So I have to say the letters were very well written, proper grammar right through. They took a nice big Bristol board to write each of them. Yellow Bristol board, black marker. It was well written, I have to say that, you know. Whose interest is this in? Who was the point of it? Why? I mean, so obviously somebody who wanted that level of war to continue. All right? And where the church is slightly higher. So they have an advantage. They're kind of looking down on the opponents. So they have an advantage there. I'll give them that. But to spin the whole thing, you know, to spin the whole issue away from young men shooting at other young men, you make the issue, I am killing innocent trees. You know? It's something to think about. I'm still as befuddled now as I was 9 years ago when this happened. What to make of this? Okay. So maybe something in what I'm going to read now would make more sense. Please call, interrupt me, not a problem.
And our number is, if you know them right now, 652-4901. That's 652-4901 or 786-292-2789. That's 786-292-2789. And our WhatsApp is functioning at 766-4920. That's 766-4920.
Okay, so now I'm going to give you a story. True story. No names. If any names are called as fictitious names. As I drove up to the church, there was yellow tape all over. Someone was just shot and was taken to hospital. Over the next few days, I kept visiting his mother, asking about him, trying to make a visit to the hospital. It didn't happen. After about 2 weeks, there was a knock at my door just as I was rushing off to a priest meeting. It was the said young man. He had survived the 5 bullets. He had come out, and because his mother kept telling him that I was inquiring, he saw it fit to come and visit me. I had not met him before. He came to visit me. So we sat for what might have been 2 hours, and he told me his whole life story, complete with tears at times, and told me about one particular movie he saw, but kind of like a true story, with a scene about some child being taken advantage of, and how that thing moved him so much. He became kind of like a vigilante after that. a defender of the downtrodden, a defender of children, not being able to not sticking advantage and things like that. That just grew and welled up inside of him from that time. He said that movie changed his life. Nothing about this young man fit what you would think of the stereotype of a gangster, if there's such a stereotype. I tell you, the man was about 6'3", strapping, well-built, handsome young man. I was saying, this fella a movie star looks, well-spoken, pleasant, nothing about him. But when he told his story, I said, I could see how he is an unwilling leader of a gang. I could see how other fellas have made him a leader because he's a good listener. He's really empathic. I could see the things in his character coming through in how he told his own story. I could see how other young men could relate to him very well. Just about 2 hours after his visit to me, there was this incident. Some gunmen held up a taxi and riddled 2 youngsters in the back seat with bullets, dead on the spot. And then they did or said something that made it clear. This was in retaliation for my visitors getting 5 bullets pumped into him. It was retaliation. My visitor knew nothing about this. He had no part in this. He would never agree to that. But here's what is interesting. These guys become literally like blood brothers because they listen to each other very well. They feel like they're in a world that they alone understand their world. They have basically the same stories. No father. Most of them would have been dropped out. They have no set of skills. They're not really employable. And something that people don't realize, they are afraid of people. They are afraid of people. Once upon a time I had a friend who was a policeman some years before I met him. And he said to me, let me tell you something. You see, once I have a gun in my waist, I ain't afraid nobody. Once I have a gun in my waist, I ain't afraid no man. But without a gun, I'm not looking for trouble, These boys are like that. The gun becomes something, it becomes like a shield. The gun becomes a reason people so-called respect them, although they know it's not respect, it's fear. But it parades as respect. And the main value for males is respect. Men desperately need to be respected. You don't have to like me, but respect me. You don't have to like me. I hear officers say, you don't have to agree with me, but you see this uniform? Policemen, respect the uniform. So respect is the biggest value for men, young and old. Respect. And when they can't get respect for being bright, for being talented, for being proficient at something, for being great at football or cricket, when there's nothing in particular for which they have shown themselves really good, that people respect them and applaud them, then the gun becomes what gets them this respect.
I take it.
This gun. So these boys become so tight, they literally would die for each other. Now, this guy did not die. He survived the 5 bullets. But the fact that somebody else had pumped 5 bullets into him was so painful for them that they felt they had to do something in retaliation. One of the victims was a young man, I think 16 years old, from my church. At the funeral's principal, Ministry of Education, they did works, massive funeral. And afterwards, the victim's mother spoke to me and she said for the whole week preceding his murder, she kept getting hundreds of phone calls. Basically saying to her, they know that they can't get the guy who did it, but they will take somebody from the family because somebody must pay for that. Okay. My point is, if there were not guns in the pit here, what would have happened?
What they used before guns?
Exactly.
Razor, chains, before we used to fight, nunchucks, sword, bottle.
But it would hardly have resulted in death. It would hardly have resulted in the death of somebody. So my point is, our boys, and I say our boys, I mean, I'm not the father of any of them biologically, but they're my boys. These young men are no different from young men anywhere else. They have emotions, they have feelings, they hurt, they bleed, they're in pain. The real difference is the powers that be, and I don't mean government here, the powers that be, people with the power, have seen it fit to keep furnishing them with guns that they could never really afford. There are persons who have interests in keeping those hotspots hot. They have vested interests in keeping these gangs going. And the little black boy is a pawn in somebody's chess game. I have heard, I'm not the only one who have heard, stories of penthouses high up, top story, with the new Lavantil, with golf course. People have big, big plans. But it requires the present residents to clear out. To clear out. They can't legally get them uprooted, legally. So one of the strategies, it is suspected, is to make the place so hot, people just flee for their lives.
Unlovable, yeah.
People just flee for their lives. And one or two have fled and just left their homes. You know, I had parishioners who told me, Father, they live at the edge of the cemetery, and it's almost like they're living in the cemetery because they literally sleep on the ground every night. Their walls are bullet-ridden. Their walls are bullet-ridden. And they are actually they were living at the time where this shooting behind the trees was happening. So sometimes they ain't hitting nowhere near the road, they're shooting the people's house accidentally. People living sleeping on the floor. So, to get back to the real point, the young men are no different from young men anywhere. But they have stories to be told. Nobody wants to listen. Very often they have, let me make sure I stay on the script. Very often they have single mothers who mean well. But meaning well doesn't mean you do the right thing all the time. I was listening to an expert, really, really well thought out stuff he was giving, and he was saying, that young man is not lazy, you know. He's not lazy. He's not just disobedient and lazy. He's in despair. Because during those teenage years, he's already sensing that he's not becoming anybody. He's just slumped down on that couch, that sofa, watching television or on the phone. And he's getting everything, tea, breakfast and dinner, nice clothes, money. He's getting everything by well-meaning mothers especially, who are simply begging him to behave. But he's getting everything for no good reason. And he's not required to do anything, which seems to be a major element in raising a boy into a young man. That aspect of responsibility. He has to be forced to become responsible for something, one thing, and then two, and then three. Gradually, he become a grown man where he's totally responsible for everything in his life. But it has to start with one. But when this young man is allowed to stay on that couch, wake up when he wants, shower if he wants, eat when he wants, and he gets everything provided by somebody who's begging him to behave, begging him to go look for work, but still providing everything, he has no reason to get up and get. He has no reason. He's been provided everything. And the main thing he really needs is to learn how to be responsible for something. He must get up. A buddy of mine, deceased now, I remember at his funeral, one of his sons, his big son, said that when he finished his degree from UV and he was home there, 1 or 2 weeks passed, and then one day, Daddy just came into his room and said, "Hey boy, you're a big man. If you had to go and pump gas, go and pump gas. Get out of my house. You have to get up and do something. You can't rest for months and months and months because you have a degree. Get up and do something. Get out of here. When the morning come, get up and go to some kind of work, whatever it is." How many parents understand how critical this is for raising a young man, a boy, a teenager well? He must be made responsible. Clean your room. If you don't clean your room, you don't eat. And the women have to get out of the way when the men try to enforce this, The women need to get out of the way. You cannot jump in the middle and stop the father or the father figure from implementing responsibility on a young man. That is critical for his development. Please interrupt me. Call. Agree, disagree.
Well, yeah, some two energies here we shall throw out to you. One is saying, good evening. How can young men get respect without the gun? That's one. And then one of your parishioners saying, why are the guns so easily accessed? Those are two questions. By those young men who can't afford to buy it. We need to educate them. The music, this is the third part, which you can answer. 100% agree. But the music they listen is a form of grooming into gangs. And the music shows a lot of things, worldly possessions. You just identify to, but the same, we'll just use that as
but the gang is too rare.
Worldly possessions.
There are some songs, because when 6, there's a guy in 6 they call him, and then 7. One of them was being interviewed, and he visions himself like a new singer, songwriter, right? Mm-hmm. And all his lyrics are about crime, and he said, well, that's what's selling, so he doing that, But to get back, how do you get respect? You become
without
good.
a gun. Yeah.
You become good at something. A sport, computer, you become good at something. You have to earn that. It could be you work hard. But once you become a person of quality, it will be working hard at some aspect of your character or developing some or one of your gifts or talents. And you first of all, you start respecting yourself. And then people start looking at you differently. All right? That's how it's supposed to happen.
But it doesn't happen all the time, yeah?
It's not happening when the youngster is being indulged. He's getting everything: tea, breakfast, dinner, money in the pocket, bling, Fran Jordan, new phone every 2 months. He's getting everything, but he's not required to do anything. And this is what is missing. You have to require them to do something. Long time parents used to say, you need to bring home such and such a report if you want to go foreign for this holiday with your uncle.
652-4901, 786-2922-789. You can interject, 766-4920.
Right, so that's how you get respect. You work on yourself, you fight with yourself at something, whatever is the task put in front of you, you do it, you learn to do it well. And it starts with a simple thing like clean your bloody room. Clean your room. I will not give you any new pillowcase, any clean pillowcase, covers, nothing. No. Unless you clean your room, you're not getting that. You will have to do your laundry yourself. He must be required to do things. If he's getting everything cooler breeze or free, and he doesn't have to do anything, you're just creating a monster. He will never be anybody's husband of worth. In fact, if he becomes a player, playing the girls, they will get pregnant and he'll leave them because they get pregnant. because he doesn't have any responsibility in him.
Let me see. I think we're getting a call coming through.
Come true.
We have a phone here that it's had a thing here. Caller, good afternoon. Let me see. Good afternoon, caller. Wow. Good afternoon, caller. Turn up the volume. That's on WhatsApp, yeah. Good afternoon. Caller, good afternoon. I guess the WhatsApp getting some problems for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, this is on YouTube. This is on, which is the one that is best?
The live chat, YouTube. All the streaming platform, Tego, Twitch, Zeno, TuneIn.
Twitch is the one that,
yeah.
my main man gets it always on Twitch.
Facebook, you can catch us, and also live on the chat. That's why I can get some of the questions asked.
Right. Okay.
I agree with you, Father. My son, my father's would tell my son I am not taking care of you as a child and as a man too.
Correct. And we're doing that, and it's not good for them.
So is it the difference between taking care of and parenting, right? Because there's some people.
That's what he means, yeah.
No, but I think there's a lady. She was with another energy, yeah. So is there a difference between, some people say, as you were saying, you have a cutoff point when you reach 18, you want to get that job, and to some people, I did all what I've done, school and put that energy in, because we know those first couple of years they say are the most important. And then we have stories I myself may have, and others that the parenting actually stop after that, yeah?
Right.
So is your parenting a till death do us part thing, or is a age thing?
Here it is. The reality is this. If you have done a proper job as a parent for the first 18 years, which includes the first 18 years, your child is yours to raise properly. Development of character. You are training a child to become a proper young adult. You're training them out of your life. You're training them to become their own man, their own young woman, to be responsible for themselves totally. And that's a gradual process. If you have done that well, the responsibility levels will increase as they grow older, right? And even if they want to go tertiary and so on, so they cross 18, they're into 20 now, but they're in university and they're still fighting, you are seeing that they are working hard. They're not lazy. They're working, they're trying to do something. You support them, you keep supporting them. If they're going right up to doctorate, that takes them to 28 and 30, but you are seeing that they are working, they're not liming, they're not sponging on you. You're there as a parent, you will support them, right? Because they are actually working. Studying is a kind of work too. It's a form of work. All right. But if you have done a bad job, meaning you have just indulged, given them everything. As soon as they think of something, they talk about something, they mention, you buy it. You just give, and you do not require anything of them. You don't require respect for you. That's a huge thing. How many parents addition out everything the child asks for, and the child has no respect for them? No, that should never be happening.
Aye, and like you said, it's so much. We have another person there putting their energy. Sometimes the father is in the home but doesn't interact with the sons. I'm not there, so I can't say what reason. But just now we're gonna be right back to get time to call.
The South Oropouche RCCH presents Food for the Journey, hosted by Father Dwight Merrick and friends. Every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m., get insight into the four ministries of Jesus Christ, preaching, teaching, healing, and deliverance, with dynamic topics for life-changing discussion, with special attention paid to men. Join the conversation or call in for prayer. Food for the Journey, live on all WAC platforms. Food for the Journey. Food for the Journey. Food for the Journey.
Come to Jesus.
Oh yeah, Culture Crazy. And we have quite a few people, online in the chats and different energies, but we'd appreciate also if one or two of you guys can call in and engage Father directly. Sometimes when you have to write the question down, it doesn't come out exactly how you envision. So 652-4901. That's 652-4901. And today we're getting a lot of comments. Yeah. 786-292-2789. That's 786-292-2789. And also 766-4920.
Let me give you some pieces of the solutions. There's no one magic one, but a piece of the solution to this problem is something Hal Greaves attempted maybe about 10 years ago. He died a while now, so about 10 years ago maybe.
Good afternoon. Good
Yes.
evening. Good evening.
Welcome.
And sir, I am just calling to say goodness to my good brothers who is sharing goodness. Thank you very much. This is Miss Rosie. I love you from my heart.
Okay.
Take care.
Goodness.
Have a nice
Yeah.
evening. Tell Tony Miss Rosie said that.
Yeah, I'm here, Rosie. I'm hearing you. Goodness.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.
Tomorrow, please the Lord.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, if you have any interaction, 652, and you'd like to interact in that interaction, 652-4901, 786-292-2789.
So some years ago, Hal Greaves, God rest his soul, he went up in the hills in Laventille, that whole area, and he was just engaged in conversation with young men. Just conversation, giving them an ear, giving them time, just spending time with them. That is a critical thing. Our present Archbishop, Jason Gordon, when he was the priest in Gonzales, he was doing the same thing with gang leaders and so on. Engaging them in conversation, hearing what is the problem, what are they feeling, what's going wrong, what do they want to see, trying to mediate and so on. It can be done. It can be done, but we have to we can't be so afraid of the gun that that's all we see the gun. We have to see the human being behind the gun and be interested in the human being behind, who is somebody in pain. This is somebody in pain. Life has dealt them some really rough knocks. They are in pain. They are first and foremost victims themselves. And then other people become secondary victims. People they actually shoot and so on. But they are victims. If we deal with their victimhood properly, and it begins with listening. We have tons of people in this country trained to have attentive listening, trained with listening skills as counselors and therapists and so on. We have tons of people. Tons of people. It's not more than 400 or 500, they say, and this was years ago, young men in gangs in the country. It is not impossible. It is not impossible to give them a listening ear. Hear what is going on. Hear what they're feeling. There's a lot of fatherlessness. The father wound is a very deep thing, you know. The father wound is a very deep thing. So it can be done. People have done it in piecemeal, but it needs to be consistent, and we need to really care about the human being. If we deal with the human being properly, I think the gun thing is just going to be a non-issue. But we also need the providers of the guns to stop doing it. I keep saying, I've said this many times, especially when I live on the hill. To my knowledge, those guys don't have the foggiest idea how to import anything. One man told me he has not been down to Port of Spain since the 1990 uprising. He has not been down to Port of Spain. And he's telling me this 25 years after. I know many of the guys, afraid people. I say afraid people. They can't hold a proper conversation. They hide behind a lot of slogans, a lot of cliches, behind a lot of laughing, boisterous laughing, because they can't speak intelligent. They can't hold a proper conversation. And they understand that about each other, so they are very, very tight.
Good evening. Welcome. Hello. Good evening and welcome. Caller, could you please listen? Take down
Hello?
your... Good evening. You could take down your... in the background? Yeah.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Good evening, Tony and Father.
Hello.
The father figure, I don't really go for that because I had my older son, just me and him. But I used to tell him, any nonsense, I knocking you down. You understand? I say you could get as tall as the fridge. I climb in on the fridge to get you.
So who were the
father figure?
who
The
were
father figure, I don't really...
who were the male? But that is great that you were able to do it successfully, but the statistics will tell you you are one in a few thousands. The vast majority of women can't do it. Can't do it.
I told him that. I brought him here. I live in New York. I brought him here when he was 8 years old. And he's around with me today. He's in his 40s? No problem.
But I would want to suggest, I want to ask, there must be, you see the thing with men, with boys, we don't come with software how to make ourselves a man. We copy from adult males around us. So there would have been, to the extent that he may not even be too cognizant as to how deeply this affects him. There would have been men around who he admired, he liked, he take this pattern from this person, he take this from this other man, you know, but because you have to cut and paste to develop yourself, things that you like in other people, you know, because it doesn't come with birth. And
well, I don't know who he followed, as far as a male, but I know from the time he opened his eyes, it was me.
Right, but he didn't spend 24/7 with you. He went to school.
Yes,
there would have been men.
He went to school right in Belmont Methodist. Right in Belmont, he went to school.
And what the researchers are saying is up to age 9 or so, boys, just like girls, are deeply attached to their mothers. When they start crossing 9, the father becomes a male person, is who there's a hunger for a male person to be like. And if it's not a father, it's not a stepfather, it might be a teacher they're looking at, it might be a coach you're looking at, it might be a scoutmaster, some man or men among several men they are looking at, because he doesn't really want to be like mommy. You know, he doesn't want to be girly, he doesn't want to be like mommy, he wants to be man-ish. So he has to get that from somewhere, you know? Right. So congrats to you.
Thank you.
For doing a great job.
Thanks, Ingrid.
But you know, we really have to pray for the tons of mothers. I know intelligent women, people close to me, who are still doing a terrible job protecting that young man from the men who want to help him. You know? Thinking that by spoiling him, giving him everything, that they are loving him. That's not loving him. Past teenage years, that's not loving at all. That is retarding his development. You know, until he has no self-confidence whatsoever, because he's not been on spot, he hasn't learned to take on a task and learn to do it. And to do it reasonably well. He hasn't learned responsibility, gets everything on a silver platter. So I was saying, Hal Graves did it, Jason Gordon did it, Pastor Dottin, I think, does a lot of work in this area. So when you get involved with the youngsters, you know, you see, they're just normal people, but they're in very bad situations. I mean, I live at Laventille for over 13 years. I saw boys come into the primary school, leave the primary school, and in 3 years, 2 years sometimes, they dropped out and they're in a gang. They're in a gang, you know. Sadly, sometimes we say, well, it's just a matter of time this one fall, you know, because his name calling and all kind of things.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. The mayor again, Tony. Father, another thing, my younger son, he was born here, right? And, you know, they are custard, they like their name brand clothes. And one day he came home and he said to me, Mommy, can I have a pair of Guess jeans? I say, when I buy a pair of jeans and put it on you, you just guess what it is. That time, guess was the style. I told him, I say, when you get a pair of jeans to wear, you just guess what it is. Don't tell me to buy you no Guess jeans.
Mm-hmm. Right, so you were not indulging. Yeah. You were not pandering to their every desire.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Nope.
And that's a big difference. Right. And you know what's interesting about sad? The poorest mothers in the most disadvantaged, socially, economically disadvantaged homes are the ones who break their neck to give those boys brand names and so on. The ones who could least afford it, because they think that is what love is.
What is love?
You know, I've had people come to my office when I live Cathedral. They need a pair of shoes, school opening next week, they need a pair of shoes for the child. I called the secretary, I said, how much for a pair of shoes to go to school? $40 right on Charlotte Street, Father. So I go inside. I said, well, I understand you could get this pair of shoes for $40. No, you have to get a Jordan. I say, wait. You're asking for help and you're telling me it's a Jordan you need to get? I can't do that, sorry. So the parents taking China from the child, they cannot go to school without a Jordan. Rubbish. The parent don't have food to put on the table, but they must get a Jordan for you to put on your foot. You know? So this is so sad because the parents who could least afford it are doing the wrong things. Giving their child everything they ask for. It's the wrong thing. Yes.
Oh, the caller was calling 786-292-2789. That's 786-292-2789.
I also want to reach out to the young men themselves. You might be a youngster. You might be listening to this today. And you know that you are manipulating your mother. You know that you're playing them. You know that you lounging off on the couch and you just pulling a slack day in, day out. From 14 to 15 to 16 to 18 to 19, you just riding a gravy train, getting everything free because you pull a huff and a puff, you threaten them, whatever you do, but you manipulate them and you're getting everything. You know what? You think you're getting away with something, but there's a part of you that is deeply disappointed because you are also understanding you're not manning up. You're not becoming a man. You're becoming a parasite. You're not learning to take care of yourself. You're not going out there and being responsible that you could feel good about yourself. Part of you is also feeling that you are disappointed in yourself because you're not developing. You need to love yourself enough to escape mommy. If it's mommy you're manipulating, but you need to get up and do the right thing for you. For you, because it's the wrong thing for you. Not because you can get it from them. You take it. It's the wrong thing for you. So young men, when they reach a certain stage, they're supposed to have enough sense to realize, here it is, I can continue playing mommy forever, But that will not help me. Especially when one day you might want to settle down with some young lady only to discover you are nowhere near being a man. That you are just self-indulgent. You don't take responsibility for yourself and you can't take responsibility for anybody else. And that'd be a very, very sad way to discover it. Where this young woman, assuming that you have sense in your head when you don't. And you can't mind nothing. Can't be trusted with any kind of responsibility. I want to pray in a special way for the youths who are already in gangs. And what they really need is a father figure. They really need healing of their father wound. I want to pray for the fathers whose sons are on a bad track right now. They have heard about it. They've been told and they are hiding. Those young men that you brought here, they need you to show up. I remember one so-called gang leader, in him telling me his story, he talked about his father was an army man. Told me the name, everything. He said he met him about 3 times. But the child was born, the father just left him with the mother, never really turned back, never provided, never showed interest. He met him about 3 times. Now, you see these deadbeat fathers, we really need something to touch them. Yes, you did wrong. Yes, you're feeling guilty. Yes, you have no excuse. Yes, you were selfish. But you know what? Those are not the most important things. More important than all those truths is your opportunity. You can still stand up. Even if the little fella cuss you day as night. Where were you for my graduation? Where you for everybody had a father day, sports day, Father's Day race. You were never there, do it. It's a tough conversation, the first one, but do it. you know what? It will start and it will end. And you'll be able to move on. Both of you will be able to move on. That youngster needs you like a drowning man needs air. He may not even realize that's how badly he needs you. But he does. He doesn't need you to be perfect. He doesn't need you to be lying. He just needs you, just as you are. He doesn't need you to be wealthy, to have status. He just needs you to claim him. And when it's a girl too, same thing. He just needs your ownership, to own up. You are my son, you are my daughter. It is hugely important for a youngster. It's a huge part of being able to feel that I am somebody. I am so-and-so son. I am so-and-so daughter. That is hugely important. I've talked in the past about a young woman bawling down the place in my office because she was never told who her father was. And she says, I feel like half of me I don't know. I feel like half of me I don't know. So I want to pray for those men. You know somebody has told you, you have a son, wherever. You have a daughter. Show up. Show up. Show up. It is hugely important to those youngsters. Don't put on airs. Don't lie. Just come clean. They will get over. Even if they have to abuse it, that's okay. That will pass. They need you. They need you.
And we need you. We'll be right back.
The South Oropuch LCHH presents Food for the Journey, hosted by Father Dwight Merrick and friends. Every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m., get insight into the four ministries of Jesus Christ, preaching, teaching, healing, and deliverance, with dynamic topics for life-changing discussion, with special attention paid to men. Join the conversation or call in for prayer. Food for the Journey, live on all WAC platforms. Food for the Journey. Food for the Journey. Food for the Journey.
Come to Jesus, Jesus come for one.
Oh yeah, Culture Crazy, we're on the home stretch, people. It's 6:50, so we're gonna make it count.
Okay, so please call. I'll continue until you call.
652-4901, because you know when you start to talk certain high level things, Father, I wrong here a while. I realize so you know, yeah, but it have to be said. 652-4901, 786-2922-789. I know someone is calling just now. Sorry that we couldn't take it at the time. And 766-4920, I think was a great topic today to energize.
So some months ago,
men, yeah.
There's a guy named Christmas, I think,
Yeah, from
who does YouTube, right?
yeah.
And somebody else, a Latino, like a Colombian or somebody. They went up Lavender Hill to interview guys in 6 and 7. Right. Now, a little bit of what I'm going to say now comes from them, but otherwise from my own experience living on the hill. So, many years, I think it was about 2010 somewhere there, Prime Minister Manning at the time, whenever that was, he had a meeting with the 26 gang leaders up in the basketball court, and they wanted peace. They wanted peace. A few years later, it didn't take long, they were almost all dead, except for the one they called Chemist, who was the leader in Beatham, who was in jail, but controlling everything from the jail. I was listening to one of these clips where they were explaining Rasta City has split into 6 and 7. Some falling out among the guys is what gave rise to 6 and 7. And then apart from these, you have Muslim City. All these nicknames, you know, people could hardly understand where they really come from. But what I want to look at is how I will say the devil is so involved, because these things I'm going to say now make no sense. A lot of these boys grew up together. They live within 1 square mile. Within 1 square mile. How do you explain that? They went to the same school, they sometimes in the same class. They were lifelong friends until they end up in different gangs. Sometimes I've heard stories about a girl, somebody like this girl, and in talking with the girl, divulge something, and the girl take information to the next side. And that caused bacchanal. With young women carrying information from one gang to the next, leading to deaths. Women carrying news, causing murder. The deep, deep unforgiveness for father, I've heard that story too often. Too often. I've also recognized a lot of youngsters, men especially, young men, cannot express what they are feeling. They're not good with the words. They don't have the vocabulary. You could see the pain etched on their faces, but they can't explain what they are feeling. Often, but not always, they are dropouts. And sometimes the dropping out, I blame the parents, because a simple thing like this happened to one boy in my area where he behaved badly in school. The principal sent for the parent, said, don't come back to school unless you come with your parent. And the parent said they're not going. That equal dropout. As simple as that. Are these parents thinking they drop out of school to stay home in your house till when? February? Do you realize are you prepared to mind them for the rest of their life when they drop out in Form 1 and Form 2 and Form 3 and they can't do nothing? Are you thinking drop out to do what? Drop out to do what? Some of the more educated ones, like did A-levels and so on, have got involved in higher order, what I call higher order crimes. Forgery.
Caller?
Hello.
Hello, dear. Good afternoon again. This
Hello.
is Ruth. I am so delighted to hear what you are saying, because a lot of people don't like me to say it, but I am blaming the parents, because if you have a cake, you want to take it, the best care of it, and to eat it, and So if you have your child, that is your best thing. Take care of it. People leave the children and them to do what they want. I was even complaining not too long. I was telling Tony them on the streets all 10, 9, 10, 11 in the night. Where the parents? And it's not nice now. It's a violent time. It's so disrespectful with everything. And parents not putting enough interest in the kids. So thank you for this beautiful program. I am happy to hear you saying that to parents.
I'm not happy to say you say that, because this is not about happy. This is supposed to make all of us grieve and make our belly burn, because it's a big problem.
When we hear the die and things like that, we grieve. But I am happy to hear you talking about it on the radio to make be enlightened. Not that I'm happy about it.
Yes. I'm not happy at all.
Understood, Rosie. Thank you,
Yes,
Rosie.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosie.
I used to say when I lived in Laventille, I said, my mother daughters could never be sitting down in a drain 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the night. Why are we raising young women as if they're prostitutes? Young girls. Their legs spread open so, and they're like boys sitting down in the canal all hours of the night. What is that? What is that? You treat yourself like nothing, and people will treat you like nothing. You have to have this, you have to put that self-respect inside of them. So the parenting, I like you, I blame parents a lot. But then sometimes it's a cycle where the parents don't know better. This is how they were raised. This is how they were raised. I was saying some of the more educated guys are able to access higher order crimes, forgeries, passport, driver's license, things like that. They do higher order things. Despite the popular belief, there's a popular belief that gangsters full of money and they're full of bling. I have never seen that. My 13 years in Laventille, I never saw that. I saw paupers. I visited the home after one of the murders, and the home had spaces for windows, but the spaces never got windows. It had floor space for furniture, but it never got furniture. We were sitting on bricks with planks of wood. And this is Priest, Clyde Harvey, Jason Gordon, myself. Sitting, we went to visit the home, whatever. I never saw the bling. Maybe money passes through their hands. to their intended destination, but they don't stay with them. They don't stay with them. You know, the petty crime is survival. Survival. I mean, I've heard stories of gang leaders trying to take the guns off the street, and his own members had him killed because they're living. This gun is their employment, sticking up people. You know. One of the sadder things about it is they live by the gun. They try hard not to get killed, but deep down they believe they will one day be killed. That's such a frightful truth to live with.
Living to die.
Not living to die. They're trying to stay alive, but they also believe that someday somebody will catch them off guard.
So you don't resign your mind.
You know, that is so sad.
I've had friends who have gone like that. I try to ask them, and because I choose the other way, yeah, and they say, "You wouldn't understand, Tony. Yeah, I have already made up my mind because I've seen so and so and
with so many fellas, yeah."
And not only that, even the society now, they try to go, some people try to blame.
Philosophical,
yeah,
right.
Look what's happening with my mother and them still in a latching thing, and they're older than me, and they're voting, and they're doing this, and nothing happens. So you see me, I checking out. And you try to empower them, but and even do better than that by you trying to lift yourself. So at least, as you were saying, people can have something to actually see. And it has worked for many people. Say, yeah, you empowered me in a certain way. So, yeah.
And one of the big words, at least for my church this year, is the word hope. We want this to be a jubilee of hope, giving people hope. And that is such a huge thing. People need to have hope.
And never be ashamed of your hope. Yeah.
People need to have hope, because when you are hopeless, you don't wake up in the morning with any drive to do anything.
Correct. Yeah. The time, we must acknowledge Mr. Roy. For those who might wanted the show to continue, now we have another show that is scheduled right after. So next Wednesday, Father will incorporate this sermon, because after we leave here, we talk a bit about the energies, and this was a great evening. And just like others, he's getting better and better at informing and getting into the audience here in WAC. Yeah. So for those who would have liked to continue, next Wednesday we're gonna come in, and want to encourage you guys who are writing here to call us and share that vibes.
Challenge every young man you know to be better and help him. Amen.
Amen.
The South Oropuch LCHH presents Full